Hi everybody. So my name is Rachel Wagner and I have a channel where I review subscription boxes and also movies and anything else that I think is fun to review. And I'm really excited for this collaboration, the chance to work with the London City TV girl, with Samantha. She's awesome and she has really great content. Her and I have very different tastes, and so I think the combination of the two of us make for a really interesting perspective. So I am really especially excited to be doing this video on our favorite musicals, and it was so hard for me to narrow it down to my top 5. Very, very difficult, and I wouldn't say necessarily these are my top 5 favorites. These are just 5 of my favorites, because I couldn't tell you for sure that these are the definitive top 5. But let me get started and tell you why I like all of these musicals. Okay, so the first one I'm going to talk about is The Fiddler on the Roof. And The Fiddler on the Roof is directed by Norman Jewison, and it's from the Jerry Block and Joseph Stein musical, and it is about a family in the Ukraine, a Jewish family, in I think the 1930s, and they are facing lots of change. There's the advent of communism and a lot of threat to their way of life, and there are a lot of people who don't like the fact that they're Jewish and that they have this town. But then there's also this family led by the dad named Tevye, who has 5 daughters, and these 5 daughters are challenging him, and they want a change. They don't want to follow the traditions of the faith and of the culture. They want to change things, and so he is challenged. Kind of each daughter, one by one, proceeds to challenge him, and he has to decide what is worth sacrificing for his daughter's happiness and what is worth how much of his faith he can sort of sacrifice for his daughter's happiness, and how he can make sense of all of these things. And I think what I like the most about it is that I feel like it's the most natural musical of any musical I've ever seen. That it feels like people would actually sing in a lot of these situations, where you have people that are celebrating, which tends to have music, and you have people that are praying and having sacraments and devotions, and you tend to sing in those moments. And then also just Tevye in songs like If I Were a Rich Man, that the old men who tend to kind of hum a little ditty. And so I think it feels really, really natural. And I just think sort of this somebody as a person of faith, I find his struggle in dealing with tradition and faith versus change and his family very, very interesting. And so I love it. It looks beautiful. The cinematography is great. And it's one, I think if you don't like musicals, give this one a shot. I think you might like it. Okay, next I have The Sound of Music. And The Sound of Music to me is basically a perfect movie. It's got such great chemistry, it's got great songs, and they actually improved significantly upon the original stage musical, which was written for Mary Martin, who had a limited range. And they took out 2 songs that make Max and the Baroness a lot more cold and manipulative, which I think makes their characters much more interesting. And I always like in a movie when you have a wide range of characters that tell a story, not just the lead 2 characters, but you really get to hear a full story from some of these minor characters. And you have sort of the political conflict, you have the power of music, you have this family conflict of this sort of bitter man, and this woman comes in and she provides this breath of fresh air. She introduces music back into the family, and it's just lovely. I mean, Oscar Hammerstein and Richard Rodgers, amazing music. It was their last musical that they ever did, because Hammerstein died in 1960, and so it was a real labor of love and a real masterpiece to make this movie. They added 2 new songs, which I think are really, really, really wonderful, with I Have Confidence and Something Good. Very good. There's great chemistry between Plummer and Julie Andrews, who is just amazing. I love all the music. The cinematography is wonderful. Oliver Salzberg and Vienna, and it's one that is the 50th anniversary this year, and you can get this 5-disc set. I just got it this week, and it's pretty awesome. With tons of special features and information and a great remastered version on Blu-ray. So if you haven't seen Sound of Music, stop this video, go watch it because it's amazing. Next, I have The Little Mermaid. And I really debated about Beauty and the Beast versus Little Mermaid because I think they're both, I have them basically as a tie at the number one of my Disney Canon ranking. And I have a blog where I review Disney Canon films, or Disney films, and lots of other films. But I reviewed the entire Disney Canon, and so definitely go check that out. I think you'll really enjoy the blog, and I would love to have your comments. And Little Mermaid is a movie that really meant a lot to me growing up because it's about this person who feels uncomfortable in their own skin. They don't feel like they belong in this world. And I remember as a kid feeling like I wish I could be an adult. I didn't feel comfortable in this body, in this person as a kid, and I felt like I want to be part of that world. I don't like the world that I'm in, and so that's why it really hit home to me. And I love the music. I think the villain is amazing. One of the best villain songs in Poor Unfortunate Souls, and it's hilarious at times. It's also very tense. The animation is gorgeous. You have a million bubbles in the making of Little Mermaid. I think the song like Under the Sea is so incredible, where you have each animal in the Under the Sea is a different instrument and a different color. And so by the end, you have this beautiful image of all of these colors and animals, plus all of this amazing music. So it's to me, it's like I said, just about perfect. I love it. Okay, then next, I have Mary Poppins. And Mary Poppins, I think, is also just about perfect. It takes this story that isn't great as a book, in my opinion. Same with Sound of Music, actually. But it turns it into this just real charmer with this interesting layer. I love movies about work, and I think that Mary Poppins actually has a lot of interesting things to say about work. I think the Mr. Banks character, he is somebody who thinks he has the world figured out, but he really is missing out on the most wonderful parts of his life. But he has such good intentions, and see the growth of that character through the story is really beautiful. And at the end, when he is having to walk back and he has to tell, he thinks he's going to lose his job, and he sees the woman, the bird woman. It's just a devastating moment. I mean, it's really, really beautiful. But of course, it's also really funny, and you have the great animation and the incredible songs by the Sherman Brothers. And Julie Andrews is a really interesting performance. Like, Mary Poppins she can be kind of harsh at times. She can be stubborn, but she can also be really sweet and funny. So she's this interesting character. And I think pretty much the only flaw in the movie is Dick Van Dyke's accent. But I can give it that. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect for it to be a perfect movie in my eyes. And the dancing sequences are incredible. The choreography in Step in Time and other parts are just great. You have Dick Van Dyke with the penguins, which is so great. Like the suffragette mom, I think is really funny. So it's just all together. It's a wonderful movie. Okay, last choice is Les Miserables. And Les Miserables, I recognize, is not a perfect movie. I know that it has flaws in some of the singing, but I just love the music so much that to me it's almost hard to do bad. I just think it's this amazing story about mercy versus justice, and these two characters who are both trying to do what they believe is right. And, Javert is probably the most noble villain in all of story, because he's trying to do what he thinks is right. He's trying to do something good, and it turns out that he's missing the whole spirit of the law. He's too letter of the law. Because of that, in the end, he's wrong, even though he's trying to do the right thing. And I just think that's so interesting and beautiful, and I love the music. I just love characters like Fantine. I mean, it's one of these shows that's so rich. I mean, just so many characters. Even a character like Enrolias, or that would just be a minor character, is really fleshed out and interesting. And I love sort of the idea of when is it worth it to protest, and when is it worth it to speak out, and when is it worth it to obey, and there's sort of that compelling story. And On My Own with Eponine, I love that song. To me, that was a game changer, that song. It was sort of my first introduction to Belt, and how beautiful that could be, and just sort of an angry lyric and an angry song, but it would be so beautiful at the same time. And I think I love just almost every song. The Thenardiers I get a little tired of, and they're definitely over the top in this version, but I think it is kind of needed to have the comic relief a little bit, but it's just a little too gaudy and loud and crass and vulgar for my taste. But other than that, I think that Cosette is a little bit of a throwaway character. I like Castle on a Cloud, but her songs are kind of silly. But other than that, I think one More Day is amazing. Bring Him Home is just a gorgeous song. And I think that Hugh Jackman does a great job. I think Anne Hathaway did a good job, and I was not expecting to like her performance, but I did. I think even the bad stuff to me is not that bad. Like, I see what people say, but I still found it really entertaining. And to be just the music and the story and the message and everything else is just so great. It was the first music, aside from maybe The Little Mermaid, that really spoke to me as a person, and I love it. So that is my top 5, and I think they're all really, really great. So what you think of my top 5, and I would love to hear below. Definitely check out the blog. Please subscribe to my channel, and subscribe to Samantha's channel. I'll put a link down to her video once it gets up, and so please check that out. And thanks so much, and I hope you all have a great day.